So the three questions I am going to cover tonight is, can you advise me? Because I've not had a single client from any of the directories. That's number one question. Number two question is, how do you go about marketing your online therapy service when you're trying to get high fee paying clients? And question number three is to do with, how can you market endings so that clients will attend their ending sessions? So three lovely meaty questions there, and we'll get stuck in straight away with the first one, which is from Sarah, who said, I've not got a single client from directories. How can I go about getting them? So here's a few thoughts about directories. Now, if you're trying to use a directory, so this would be something like a commercial directory, like Psychology Today, counselling directory, or even using the membership directories such as BACP, Find a Therapist. So you're paying to use the directories. It's quite painful if you're paying and you're not getting any results. Plus, obviously, you want to be able to build your business. So why isn't it happening? Now, what you have to remember with the directories is that there's an awful lot of other people also on the directories. So you are competing with people. So you need to really attend to what's written down in your directory entries. If you go to the Good Enough Counsellors podcast, in episode 3 and episode 14, I'm also talking about directories, and it will be episode 18 next week as well. But I would say that the main reason why people don't get clients from directories is that they're not specific enough. They don't show people why they should choose them. And it's usually because therapists are very vague in the way that they help people. They might focus on talking about their modality, so talking about the way they work, rather than how they help people. Because what you need to remember when you're writing your directory profile is people are very selfish. They're actually not very interested in you. What they're interested in is how you can help them. So they're going to be searching. When you think about it, they've got like loads and loads and loads of different people in front of them, and they have got to make a choice. So what are they going to do? They're going to try and narrow those choices down, and they'll narrow those choices down in several different ways. They might narrow the choice down by the profile picture. I'm really sorry, but that is something that people do. They might narrow it down on your age or your gender. There's not a lot you can do about that. Some people just won't choose you because they don't want to work with a woman, or they don't want to work with a man, or they don't want to work with someone who has pronouns. But equally, there might be people who will only work with people who have pronouns. So it's all about really being you, but thinking about what the client wants from you. So it's really helpful if you can be very clear about the type of service that you're actually offering. You know, there's no point someone who is looking for a couples counsellor phoning you up if you don't do couples. And equally, can you imagine how frustrating it is for someone who is looking for a couples counsellor who phones a whole load of people up and they say, no, I don't work with couples. So if you're someone who works with couples, you really want to make sure that is front and center of your description about yourself. Put it in the initial sentence or two that goes in the initial search paragraphs, so that people can easily pick you out. So try and think about what it is that makes your heart sing when you are doing therapy, and try and appeal to those sorts of people. So it's a whole lot more I say about niching. So much more that I say about niching. If you look on my YouTube channel, which I'll show you, and you go to the marketing playlist, you will find there's some other stuff on there. So I'd also say the other thing to remember about your directory entry. I'm looking here, I've written some little notes to remind myself. quite often you'll find that people say exactly the same thing, and you'll get hundreds of therapists who say, this is my favourite, and you would have heard me talk about it before, I offer a safe space. And I know it's important that we offer a safe space, but I'm not entirely sure, what exactly people mean by offering a safe space. But if every single person says it, then it doesn't actually give the user any choice, does it? Because so many people are saying it, you almost sort of take it for granted. And actually, in a sense, if you're saying that, you're sort of wasting your precious words, because you only get a certain number of words and characters that you can use. You're wasting those on saying the same thing as everyone else. So you want to think about what makes you stand out, what it is about you that makes a difference. So I would also make sure that you include what it is that makes you the right therapist for people. That might be about your work experience, your placement experience. It might be something about your life experience, if you're able to share that and feel it's okay from a self-disclosure point of view. What makes you the right person for them? Make sure that you include that in your profile. And then the other thing I just say is, if your directories aren't working, think about other ways that you can reach out to clients, because it is really, disappointing if you've done a profile, that's your main reason for attracting clients, your main method of attracting clients, and then it doesn't work, you're left with no clients. So think about all the other ways that you can attract clients. And I've got a whole course on this in my therapy growth group called Find Your Next 5 Clients. And it's got all these different ways that you can actually find clients. And I've got a little handout. I'll see if I can find it. I'll pop it here. 21 ways, and that is 21 ways that you can attract clients. With that, it's just a list. In the course, I go into it in a lot more detail. So I'm going to move on to the next question now. And the next question was about standing out online. What can you do if you're marketing yourself? You're not location specific, because you can market yourself to anyone. How can you market yourself so that you attract these high fee paying clients? Just get rid of that now because you've seen it. And what I would say, again, if you want to look at my YouTube channel, is that there is a whole training on this on my YouTube channel. It's 15 minutes long, and it is called, let me just see, Stand Out Online, Attract Your Ideal Clients. And that's in the Marketing Your Private Practice playlist as well. So do go along to that to find out more, because I do go into more detail. But very briefly, what I would say about marketing to high fee payers is, one, think about your niche and think about it quite carefully. It's two things. The way to market yourself to a lot of people is to really narrow down. What you want to do is you want to get yourself known as one of the persons to go to about that particular subject. So Josh, Anxiety Josh, who I interviewed for the Good Enough Counsellors podcast, he is called Anxiety Josh on Instagram, and he focuses on specifically anxiety and anxiety related disorders. That's what he's known for. He talks all about anxiety. He talked all about it through the pandemic, and that has brought him a lot of followers. Brilliant timing to talk about it during the pandemic when everybody was really anxious. That's helped him build his practice. So find something that you can talk about very, very specifically. And I'm really happy to help people. If they want to work on this with me, really happy to do some business coaching with them to help you do it. But the more specific you can be, the more you are going to get known for being the person who does that. You want to be one of the go-to people. And when you're a go-to person, when you're the one that has a lot of followers, is attracting a lot of attention, is producing content online, because that helps to bring people in. So like Josh does Instagram, but he also does a podcast. When you've got that sort of content online, you become the person that people know about, and you have a higher sort of profile. And when you're like that and you've become quite popular and you're beginning to bring in, say, lots of comments, for example, you have a big audience, people will pay because they know that you're one of the experts. So you may not feel like an expert, but it is almost positioning yourself online to be one of the experts. So, whatever you can do in terms of content creation, that might be TikTok, it might be blogs, it could be Instagram, whatever you can do, podcast, to get yourself known on one particular subject. And when you're choosing that subject, remember to choose a subject that people who have the capacity to pay over £100 a session, that would appeal to them. And then we'll move on to the final question. And this was about how can you market for endings? And actually, I think that's quite a tricky question. I think if you wanted to, a lot of people say, start with the ending in mind. So that can be something that you're sort of educating your clients on all the time. So when they actually start with you, you put it in your contract, you remind them, you do reviews, you can talk about working towards an ending session. You create the expectation that you will have an ending session with people. And you can talk about that when you are doing your marketing as well. You might sort of want to talk about, today I ended with a client, we did an ending session. I think the other thing I really wanted to say about this is I think it's really important to pick up on those cues from people that they're ready to finish. And this is, I think, comes with experience. It certainly did for me. It's sort of like really listening to what they're telling you. When they start telling you that they're feeling better, or that you haven't got a lot to bring to this session, or they're not quite sure what to say, those are signs that they're reaching the ending point. And I think it's really important to pick up on those signals so that you can actually explicitly talk to them about ending sessions. So they don't just say, oh, well, actually, right at the end of the session, I won't be coming back next week. You want to pick up on it. And sometimes, I would pick up on people and pick up on a signal like that and say, oh, what are you thinking? And they say, well, actually, I think I'm probably ready to finish. And quite often they want to finish in that session. So it might be, if you've got time, you can basically rearrange the sessions so that they do have that ending there and then. And I think there might be something around, our own expectations as to the way it should be done. I think when you've been working with people a long time, then, ending sessions can be really useful and appropriate. But perhaps if it's a shorter contract, although you might want to be able to do things like signpost them to other sources of support, I think sometimes people don't want to pay for that extra session because they haven't got that sort of depth of relationship with you. So I think in my sort of thinking is be very aware of when people are coming to an ending, listen out for those signals, really be explicit about it to encourage them to come for an ending session so that they don't just go and never come back. But also think about your expectations as well. And I think we're taught to do things in a particular way, and while it's useful, sometimes that isn't what happens in sessions. And if it doesn't happen, don't beat yourself up about it, because there's the perfection of the way we should do it, but it doesn't always happen like that. So don't beat yourself up if you don't do the perfect ending.